black luxury sedan stopped in front of the tiny, weather-beaten house just as the rain began to fall. The woman who stepped out of the car wore an elegant black coat that probably cost more than everything inside that modest home. Cameras from curious neighbors peeked through curtains. People whispered. No one understood why one of the country's most successful female CEOs had come to this forgotten neighborhood. But what happened next left everyone speechless, standing before a struggling single father whose hands were rough from years of hard labor. She lowered her head and said the words that shattered every assumption people had made about wealth and power. Her father had died, but she had come to repay his debt. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe that kindness should never be forgotten and that second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles. Your support helps us bring more stories that remind the world that compassion still exists. Daniel Carter had never imagined that one act of humanity would return to him decades later in such an extraordinary way. At 42 years old, he lived in a small town on the edge of the city with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Life had not been gentle with him. 3 years earlier, his wife, Emma, had lost her battle with cancer, leaving behind an empty side of the bed, unfinished dreams, and a little girl who often woke up crying for her mother. In the middle of the night, Daniel worked wherever work could be found. During the day, he repaired household appliances. In the evenings, he stocked shelves at a local grocery store. On weekends, he fixed leaking pipes, painted fences, and assembled furniture for neighbors who could not afford professional contractors. Sleep had become a luxury he no longer expected. Every dollar he earned was carefully divided between rent, food, school supplies, and Lily's growing needs. Despite the exhaustion etched permanently into his face, Daniel possessed something rare. He refused to let hardship steal his kindness. Even when life offered him very little, he found ways to help others. If an elderly neighbor needed groceries carried upstairs, he volunteered. If someone's car broke down, he stayed until it started again. He taught Lily that wealth was not measured by what a person owned, but by what they gave when giving was difficult. Years before his own tragedies unfolded, Daniel had worked as a mechanic in his father's small garage. One rainy evening, a desperate man had stumbled into the shop. His clothes were soaked, his hands trembled, and fear shadowed his eyes. The man introduced himself as Robert Hayes. He explained that his car had broken down while transporting important documents for a business meeting that could determine the future of his struggling company. Robert had no money left. He promised he would return to pay once his situation improved. Daniel's father had frowned skeptically. The family business barely survived from month to month. Yet Daniel noticed something in the stranger's expression. It was not deception. It was desperation mixed with dignity. Ignoring practical concerns, Daniel repaired the vehicle through the night. He refused payment and handed Robert enough cash to buy fuel and food for the journey ahead. Before leaving, Robert gripped Daniel's hand tightly and made a promise. He vowed that if fortune ever smiled upon him, he would repay the kindness tenfold. Life moved on. Daniel forgot the encounter. Robert never did. Unwrong to Daniel, Robert Hayes rebuilt his failing company from the ground up. Through relentless effort and remarkable business instincts, he transformed it into a global enterprise worth billions. Newspapers praised his intelligence. Financial magazines celebrated his achievements. Yet, beneath every award and business triumph, Robert carried the memory of the young mechanic who had helped him when the world had turned its back on him. He often spoke about that night to his daughter, Sophia Hayes. Sophia listened to the story countless times throughout her childhood. She learned how a stranger had shown compassion without expecting anything in return. She learned that success without gratitude was emptiness disguised as achievement. She learned that debts of the heart were more important than debts recorded on paper. As years passed, Sophia inherited her father's brilliance. She graduated from prestigious universities, expanded the family business internationally, and eventually became CEO. Investors admired her confidence. Employees respected her leadership. The media called her the Iron Executive because of her calm determination during difficult negotiations. But behind boardroom doors and flashing cameras, she remained her father's daughter. Then came the day that changed everything. Robert Hayes died unexpectedly after suffering a sudden heart attack. The nation mourned the legendary businessman. News outlets highlighted his achievements. Tributes poured in from politicians, celebrities, and industry leaders. Yet while lawyers sorted through financial documents and executives discussed succession plans, Sophia discovered something hidden among her father's personal belongings. Inside an old wooden box lay a faded receipt from a mechanic shop, yellowed with age. Attached to it was a handwritten note. The note described Daniel's kindness. At the bottom, Robert had written a final request. "If life ends before I fulfill this promise, find Daniel Carter. Repay the debt I owe him. Not because he needs repayment, but because kindness deserves remembrance." Sophia read the note repeatedly through tears. Her father had built an empire, yet one unfinished act of gratitude still weighed upon his heart. Within days, Sophia instructed her team to locate Daniel Carter. Private investigators expected to find a prosperous businessman. Instead, they found a widowed father struggling to survive. Sophia reviewed the reports in silence. Daniel lived in a modest rented house. He worked multiple jobs. His daughter excelled academically despite limited resources. Medical bills from Emma's illness had consumed their savings. Their refrigerator was often nearly empty by month's end. The man who had once helped save Robert's future now faced hardships of his own. Sophia cancelled meetings. She postponed corporate events. Then she traveled to Daniel's neighborhood. When Daniel opened the front door, he stared at the elegant woman standing before him. He assumed she had mistaken the address. So Sophia noticed his worn work boots, tired eyes, and cautious expression. Behind him, Lily peeked curiously around the doorway while clutching a stuffed rabbit with missing ears. The contrast between Sophia's polished appearance and Daniel's humble circumstances could not have been greater. Sophia explained why she had come. At first, Daniel struggled to remember Robert Hayes. Decades had passed. Thousands of customers had entered and exited his life. Then fragments returned: the rain, the broken vehicle, the frightened businessman, the promise. Daniel smiled softly. He admitted he had never expected anything in return. Helping someone had simply felt like the right thing to do. Sophia listened carefully. She fought back tears as she described her father's gratitude and his final wish. Daniel shook his head gently. He insisted no debt existed. Kindness, he said, should not come with invoices. But Sophia believed some promises transcended ordinary understanding. She could not ignore her father's final request. Over the following weeks, Sophia continued visiting. Neighbors whispered endlessly. Rumors spread throughout the community. Some believed romance was blossoming. Others suspected hidden scandals. The truth proved far more beautiful. Sophia spent time understanding Daniel's life. She saw Lily completing homework at the kitchen table, beneath flickering lights. She witnessed Daniel repairing old shoes instead of buying new ones. She watched him skip meals so his daughter could have enough to eat. She noticed how he apologized whenever Lily asked for things beyond their means. Yet she also saw laughter. She saw bedtime stories. She saw handmade birthday decorations. She saw a father whose love transformed scarcity into warmth. For the first time in years, Sophia questioned everything she believed about success. She had access to private jets and luxury penthouses, yet Daniel possessed a richness money could not purchase. Eventually, Sophia proposed paying Lily's educational expenses. Daniel refused. Pride prevented acceptance. He feared becoming dependent. He worried people would assume he sought financial gain. Sophia understood. Instead of offering charity, she offered opportunity. She created a scholarship in Robert Hayes's name for children of single parents. Lily became its first recipient through transparent evaluation processes. Sophia also expanded employment initiatives within her company, prioritizing individuals facing financial hardship. Daniel accepted a stable position, overseeing maintenance operations at one of the firm's regional facilities. The role offered fair wages, healthcare benefits, and reasonable hours. For the first time since Emma's death, Daniel could eat dinner with Lily without rushing to another job afterward. Life slowly transformed. Lily joined music classes she had once admired from afar. Daniel repaired the house without calculating every nail's cost. He planted flowers in the small front yard because hope had finally returned. Meanwhile, Sophia discovered healing within their friendship. The pressure of leadership had isolated her. People often approached her seeking influence or wealth. Daniel expected nothing. He spoke honestly. He challenged her assumptions. He reminded her that compassion mattered more than quarterly profits. One evening, Sophia visited Emma's grave alongside Daniel and Lily. They stood quietly beneath fading sunlight. Daniel admitted he often wondered whether goodness truly mattered in a world driven by ambition and selfishness. Sophia looked toward the horizon and reflected upon her father's life. Empires could collapse, fortunes could disappear, titles eventually faded, but a single act of kindness had echoed across decades, altered countless futures, and brought strangers together in unexpected ways. That was legacy. Months later, Sophia launched the Hayes Foundation, dedicated to supporting widowed parents, struggling families, and individuals who had once helped others without recognition. The foundation's motto reflected Robert's enduring belief: kindness is never wasted. Thousands benefited, communities flourished. Stories emerged of people paying forward generosity they had received years earlier. The ripple effect continued expanding beyond anyone's imagination. One rainy afternoon, remarkably similar to the night Daniel met Robert, Lily asked her father whether helping others was always worth the risk. Daniel considered the question carefully. He remembered exhaustion, heartbreak, and uncertainty. He remembered opening the front door to find a grieving daughter, determined to honor her father's promise. He smiled and answered that kindness sometimes feels invisible because we rarely witness its destination. But every compassionate choice plants seeds in hearts we may never know. Some bloom quickly, others bloom decades later. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles, share it with family and friends, and leave a comment below. Your engagement helps spread stories that inspire people to choose kindness, even when life becomes difficult. Before we reach the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment with these words: kindness always returns. Let us know where you're watching from and whether someone has ever changed your life through an unexpected act of compassion. Years later, Lily stood on a stage as a scholarship graduate preparing to pursue her dreams. Sophia watched proudly from the audience. Daniel sat nearby with tears shining in his eyes. Emma was absent physically, yet her love remained woven into every achievement her daughter celebrated. Daniel eventually realized that Robert's debt had never been financial. It had been spiritual. It was the debt owed by one human soul to another for restoring faith during moments of despair. Robert repaid it through Sophia. Sophia honored it through service. Daniel continued it through humility. Lily inherited it through gratitude. As applause filled the auditorium, Daniel understood that the smallest choices often shape destinies beyond our imagination. A repaired car, a shared meal, a helping hand extended toward a stranger. These ordinary moments become extraordinary when rooted in love. The female CEO had arrived, believing she came to repay her father's debt. Instead, she discovered that true kindness cannot be repaid because its value exceeds money. It can only be passed forward. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. In a world that often celebrates power, wealth, and status, the most valuable inheritance we leave behind is the compassion we show when no one is watching. If this story moved you, made you reflect on someone who once helped you, or reminded you to keep believing in humanity, please engage with this video before you go. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles. Together, let us create a community that proves kindness still has the power to change lives, heal broken hearts, and echo through generations long after we are gone.